I didn't notice the lipstick stain at first. It was faint, almost invisible under the dim bathroom light. But as I reached for the towel on the back of the door, my eyes caught it, a subtle, smudged line of red on the inside of my husband's collar.
Red.
I don't wear red. I stood frozen, towel clutched in my hand, heart thudding louder than it had any right to on a Tuesday morning. My husband, Ryan, had already left for work. His perfectly tailored navy suit, his brown leather briefcase, his usual routine. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until now. I swallowed hard. Maybe it was from yesterday? A handshake? A dinner with clients? But even as I thought it, my mind began spinning. Ryan hated physical contact. Even cheek kisses from family made him squirm. And we hadn't gone out in weeks. I pressed my fingers to the smudge. It felt like my fingers were burning. I tried to shake the feeling off. I told myself I was overreacting again. Maybe I'd seen too many drama series. Maybe I needed a break. But the tension that built in my chest wasn't going anywhere. It was coiling tighter with every passing second. It had been months since Ryan had really looked at me. I mean, truly looked like I mattered. Our conversations had turned into short, clipped exchanges about groceries, bills, his job. Always his job. And his secretary, Lena. I closed my eyes.
No.
That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? I walked back into our bedroom, slowly, as if moving too fast might break something delicate in the air. I sat on the edge of our perfectly made bed, the one we now slept in like polite roommates. I picked up his pillow, turned it in my hands, as if it might offer answers. I knew something was shifting, even before the lipstick.
But now?
Now it was whispering louder. Ryan and I had been married for 7 years. We'd survived infertility, job layoffs, even a robbery once. But this felt different. I remembered our last anniversary. I'd booked a weekend getaway. He said he couldn't take time off. I spent the weekend alone, drinking cheap champagne in a hotel bathtub, pretending it didn't hurt. And Lena had sent him a work-related email that Sunday. I remembered because he opened it immediately while I was in lingerie, trying to distract him. I reached for my phone. I knew his passcode. He never changed it. Maybe because he trusted me. Or maybe because he thought I wouldn't dare check. But this time I had to know. The phone opened easily. No new messages. I tapped into his email. Just the usual, client updates, calendar invites. Then I saw her name. Lena Caldwell. Multiple emails. None stood out. They looked professional. But I clicked on one anyway. A week ago. Subject. Meeting notes. The body was blank. But there was a PDF attached. I hesitated. Then opened it. It wasn't a meeting summary. It was a hotel confirmation. My stomach dropped. My hand clutched the sheets beside me to steady myself. The reservation was for a 2-night stay at a boutique hotel downtown.
King bed.
Breakfast included. 2 guests. No names. Just Ryan's card. Ryan's email. The dates were last weekend. He had told me he was on a 2-day strategy offsite with senior management. I felt the breath leave my body, like I'd been punched. My mind raced. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he booked it for someone else. A friend? A client? But I knew that was just the voice of denial talking. And then the phone buzzed. A new message. From Lena. Morning, babe. Last night replaying in my head, still can't believe how lucky we are.
Call me when you can.
Black heart. I couldn't move. I stared at the words. They looked harmless. Sweet even. To someone else, it might seem like just a private moment between lovers. But this was my husband. And his secretary. The room felt like it was closing in. I dropped the phone and pressed my hands to my face. How long? How long had he been lying to me, touching me with the same hands he used to hold her? Telling me he was tired or stressed when he was really spending the night tangled in sheets with someone else.
Lena.
The assistant with the polished nails, the high heels, the fake smiles. She used to laugh at my jokes in company dinners. She complimented my dress at the last office Christmas party. I felt sick. I wasn't angry yet. I was stunned. My brain wasn't ready for rage. It was still trying to believe this was real. Still trying to understand how a life so carefully built could collapse in a matter of minutes. I stood, my legs weak beneath me, and walked to the closet.
His clothes were neatly lined.
Ties in order. Cologne bottles perfectly aligned. I pulled out the navy suit from yesterday and buried my face in the collar. There it was again, the faintest hint of a floral perfume I didn't own. My heart hardened. Something inside me cracked open. Not just pain, but something sharper. Something colder. I wasn't going to cry. Not yet. I walked to the bathroom, splashed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize her. The woman staring back.
Pale. Silent.
Furious. Something needed to be done. But first, I had to know everything. The next few days were agony. Every smile Ryan gave me felt like a knife. Every word he said, even the harmless ones, came wrapped in invisible betrayal. He didn't know I had seen the message, or the hotel confirmation, or the lipstick on his shirt. He kissed me on the forehead Thursday morning before leaving for work, and I had to stop myself from shivering in disgust. "Big meeting today," he said, adjusting his tie. "Wish me luck." I gave him a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Good luck. If only he knew what I was planning. But I had to be smart. This wasn't just about heartbreak. This was war. And I wasn't going to lose to someone like Lena. That night, while Ryan was working late, I sat at the dining table, laptop open, digging through every email thread, calendar invite, credit card statement, and call log I could find. I was collecting evidence like a lawyer building a case. The signs were all there. I just hadn't been looking. Late nights. Sudden weekend business trips. A mysterious charge at a luxury spa. Another at a boutique flower shop, and I hadn't received any flowers. I cross-referenced the spa date with one of his hotel stays. It matched. My stomach turned, but I kept going. There was one email thread that caught my attention. It was about a business dinner Lena had scheduled for just the two of them. The subject was private client dinner, NDA required. But the location? A rooftop restaurant known for its candlelight tables and no photo policy. She wasn't even being subtle anymore. I clicked through her email signature. It had her personal website listed, something about executive services and corporate image consulting. I clicked. Her site loaded quickly. And there it was, a small gallery of professional photos.
Polished. Poised.
Too perfect. Her bio described her as a strategic thinker passionate about relationship management and high-value partnerships. I wanted to laugh or scream. Instead, I took screenshots. I was going to build my quiet little storm, brick by brick. No drama. No crying scenes. Just cold, precise exposure. On Friday, I called my friend Danielle, who worked in HR at Ryan's company. I didn't say much, just that I needed to meet her for lunch.
Urgently.
Danielle had always liked me more than she liked Ryan. She once joked that if we ever split, she'd pick me in the divorce. When I arrived at the cafe, she was already seated, iced coffee in hand, concern painted across her face. "What's going on?" she asked as I slid into the booth. I didn't answer right away. I simply pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots. The lipstick photo. The email. The hotel reservation. Her jaw dropped. "Lena," she whispered, "you're kidding." I shook my head. I need to know how far this goes. If it's just personal or if it's professional, too. Danielle blinked. Oh, it's professional. She's not just a secretary. She's been helping with internal budget allocations, vendor contracts, even sitting in on hiring panels. That's way out of her lane. I clenched my jaw. That's exactly what I needed to hear. She leaned in. "You're thinking of going to the board, aren't you?" I met her gaze. "Not yet. First, I want Ryan to know I know. Then we'll see how loud I have to get." Danielle nodded slowly. "Whatever you need, I'm in." It felt good to have someone on my side. Someone who wasn't blind to the truth. That evening, I didn't wait for Ryan to lie to me again. I met him at the door. "Dinner's ready," I said sweetly, taking his briefcase. He looked surprised, maybe even touched. "You didn't have to." "It's a special night," I interrupted. We need to talk. He tensed just a little, but he followed me into the dining room. I'd lit candles, set the table, made his favorite meal, steak and garlic mashed potatoes. He sat, nervously glancing around. What's the occasion? I smiled. Transparency. His fork paused midair. I waited until he took a bite before I placed the printed hotel confirmation gently next to his plate. He froze. I could hear the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. His throat moved as he swallowed. Where did you get this? You used your company email, Ryan, I said calmly. You're not exactly subtle.
He didn't speak.
I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. The text from Lena glowed on the screen. This is a mistake, he said finally. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. I didn't mean. Don't lie to me.
My voice was steel now.
Not after everything I've uncovered. I know. I know everything. And so does HR. His eyes widened. What? I leaned in. Danielle works in compliance. I showed her everything. She's documenting it. So the next words out of your mouth better be the truth. He looked down, defeated. His shoulders sagged like a man caught in a trap he built himself. I didn't plan for it to happen, he said quietly. It just evolved. Evolved? I scoffed. Affairs don't evolve, Ryan. They're chosen. Over and over again. He rubbed his temples. I was unhappy. I felt invisible. And your solution was to sleep with your assistant? Silence. That night, Ryan slept in the guest room. And I didn't cry. I sat by the window, looking out at the moon, thinking. Tomorrow, the real reckoning would begin. The next morning felt different. It was quiet, too quiet. Ryan didn't say a word as he got dressed for work. He didn't make his usual coffee or hum while brushing his teeth. The man who once acted like nothing could shake him was now weighed down by guilt. I watched him from the doorway. Will you tell her? I asked calmly. He looked up, startled. Tell who? Lena. That I know. That it's over. That you're not going to cover for her anymore.
He looked away.
I don't know. That was all I needed to hear. By noon, I had already emailed everything to Danielle, and she sent it straight to the executive team. The screenshots. The confirmations. Even the calendar notes that showed Lena's constant presence in Ryan's meetings, all when she had no official business being there. Within the hour, HR scheduled an internal investigation. By 3 p.m., I got the text from Danielle. They've seen everything. Lena's being put on leave. Ryan's being pulled into a closed-door session now. You did it. My heart beat faster. Not from revenge, but relief. The truth was finally stretching its legs. I decided not to wait around. Instead, I drove to my sister Maya's apartment. She opened the door with a hug that nearly cracked my ribs. I knew something was wrong, she said, pulling me inside. You've been too quiet lately. I collapsed on the couch. It's all blowing up. The affair, the lies, the manipulation. They're all getting exposed. She handed me a mug of tea. Good. Let it burn. Maya always had a way with words. I stayed the night, needing the comfort of someone who knew me before all this madness began. We binge-watched crime documentaries and ate too much popcorn. But my mind kept circling back to one thing. Why? Why Lena? Why her? Was she smarter? Prettier? More daring? Or was it just convenience? The next day, I had my answer. Danielle called me early in the morning. You're not going to believe this, she whispered. Lena tried to deny everything at first. But then, she flipped the story. What do you mean? She's claiming you were the jealous wife spying on them. That you fabricated the emails. She's calling you unstable. I stood up. She what? Danielle sighed.
But don't worry.
IT already confirmed the emails came from her official account. The metadata matches. It's airtight. I felt my blood simmer. She's still trying to play the game. Danielle chuckled. The board's not buying it. They're more worried about legal exposure. HR violations. This could cost the company its reputation. Later that afternoon, Ryan came home early. He looked pale. I've been suspended, he said quietly. Pending the investigation. I didn't flinch. He sat down, rubbing his face. They asked me about everything. The dinners, the hotel, even Lena's contract. They're going through it all. I nodded. They should. I didn't think it would go this far, he murmured. I thought I could keep it separate. That's the problem with secrets, Ryan, I said coldly. They don't stay in their boxes. He looked up at me with eyes that finally held real regret. I messed up. No, I said. You chose to mess up.
He didn't argue.
A few days passed. I kept my distance, focused on my own healing. I journaled, meditated, even went back to the gym. And one morning, I found something in the mail, an envelope with no return address. Inside was a note, just a few typed lines. She was never what he needed. You were the threat, and that's why I tried to erase you. But the truth doesn't stay buried.
L.
I stared at it for a long time. It had to be from Lena. Maybe it was her confession, or a strange way to say goodbye. Either way, it didn't matter anymore. She was gone from the company. Ryan's future there was hanging by a thread. And I was finally reclaiming my power. That weekend, I booked a solo trip to the coast. A small cabin near the cliffs. No distractions. No noise. Just me. One night, I sat by the fire with a glass of wine, watching the stars, and I realized something important. This whole time, I thought I was breaking. But really, I was being rebuilt. Not by Ryan. Not by vengeance. Not even by justice. But by truth. And the strength it awakened in me. The coastal wind was cold but cleansing. Each wave that crashed against the rocky shore felt like a punctuation mark at the end of a long, exhausting sentence. I had taken a break from everything, from the questions, from the tension, from the house that still smelled like Ryan's cologne and lies. But even here, solitude couldn't erase the memory of what had happened. On my third morning, my phone rang. It was Ryan. I let it ring the first time. And the second. By the third, I answered, not out of concern, but curiosity. Hey, he said quietly. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I thought you should know they fired me this morning. His words hung there, lifeless. They said I violated internal ethics, he continued. Fraternizing with someone I had influence over. Conflict of interest. They said even if Lena hadn't lied about things, it still would have been enough.
I didn't respond.
I just listened. He took a shaky breath. Lena's gone too. They terminated her contract after a full review. No severance. No references. It's like she never existed in the system. That part almost made me smile. She tried to tell them it was your fault, he added. But no one believed her. IT proved everything you said. And HR, they were furious. There was silence. Then he asked, "Where are you?" I looked out the cabin window. The sea was glowing under the morning sun. Far enough away to feel peace, I said. He exhaled. I wish I could undo what I did. I really do. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm sorry. I believed he meant it. But sincerity doesn't always fix damage. Some things don't get glued back together. I appreciate the apology, I said after a pause. But I'm not coming home.
Not now.
Maybe not ever. His voice cracked. I understand. We hung up. For the first time in weeks, I didn't cry. I didn't feel that familiar squeeze in my chest. Just release. Later that afternoon, I walked down to the shore. The sand was soft, and the tide was low. I stood there, letting the cold water numb my toes, and I realized I had made it through. I wasn't broken. I was reborn. When I returned home a few days later, the energy was different. I had left the woman who once questioned her worth and came back someone who knew her value. Ryan was gone. He had packed a few bags and moved into a small apartment nearby. He left a handwritten note on the counter. You don't owe me anything. I know I lost more than a job. I lost you. Take care of yourself. R. I folded the note and tucked it away in a drawer. Not because I wanted to save it, but because it reminded me how far I had come. I started making small changes. I painted the bedroom a warm gold, replaced the sheets, rearranged the living room. Every shift was a silent act of reclaiming the space, not just the house, but my life. One morning, I got a call from Danielle. "You won't believe what Lena posted on social media," she said. "She's claiming you hacked her email and framed her. She's spinning this bizarre victim story." I laughed for the first time in ages. Let her talk. Let her scream into the void. People like her need someone to blame. Danielle chuckled. "Corporate karma is real." She lost her job, her credibility, and from what I heard, Ryan. I raised an eyebrow. "Wait, what do you mean?" She blocked his number. Ghosted him. Probably realized he couldn't protect her anymore. Poetic justice. Weeks passed. Then months. I started therapy. I took yoga. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with while drowning in my marriage. And slowly, my joy returned. Not all at once, but in pieces. Like puzzle fragments falling back into place. Then one quiet evening, something unexpected happened. I got an email. The subject line, "Forgive me," or "At least let me try." It was from Lena. I stared at the screen for a full minute before opening it. "You were right about everything." I got carried away. It started as a power trip. Then it became obsession. I wanted to be better than you. Smarter. Sexier. More important. But in the end, I was just desperate. I lost everything. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know it wasn't about love. It was about ego. Ryan was never going to leave you. And I knew that. So, I tried to ruin you instead.
I'm sorry.
I really am. There was no reply. No need. Sometimes, silence is the loudest closure of all. I closed the laptop, poured myself a glass of wine, and stepped onto the porch. The wind was cool again, but this time, it carried something softer.
Peace.
Life after devastation doesn't look like fireworks or grand declarations. It looks like morning sun pouring onto new bedsheets. Like laughter that doesn't catch in your throat. Like the absence of a question you no longer ask. Was it me? In the following months, I rebuilt more than just a home. I rebuilt myself. I started taking long morning walks, letting the rhythm of my steps sync with my thoughts. I opened up to new conversations, even went on a few casual dates. No expectations, just living. Ryan, for the most part, stayed away. He respected the boundary I'd drawn. But once, on a random Tuesday, I saw him from a distance, sitting on a park bench, staring at nothing in particular. A man who had lost the one thing he never thought he would, me. Danielle and I became closer than ever. One night over wine, she said something that stuck with me. "You didn't just survive betrayal," she said. "You transformed it. You turned the ugliest truth into your cleanest exit." She was right. Still, sometimes I'd feel a twinge, not of regret, but memory. A version of me still lived in those past moments. But she was no longer running the show. I had evolved. Then something strange happened. About 7 months after the final email from Lena, I received a small package in the mail. No return address. No note. Just a silver flash drive inside a black velvet pouch. I stared at it for hours before finally inserting it into my laptop. A folder opened automatically. Inside, dozens of screenshots. Email threads. Internal memos. Photos. Everything Lena had been hiding. Evidence of manipulations, attempts to sabotage other employees, even a fake identity she once used to run anonymous blogs spreading rumors about coworkers. And at the center of it all, Ryan. Apparently, Lena hadn't just seduced him. She had blackmailed him. Used compromising photos, threats to leak sensitive company documents, even faked anonymous complaints to stir drama around me. It had never been about love. I felt a numbness spread through my chest, not from pain, but from disbelief. This woman had built her whole life around lies.
And now, it was in my hands.
One particular file stood out. A voice recording. I clicked play. She thinks she knows who I am, but I'm playing a long game. When I'm done with Ryan, he'll be nothing. Just like her. Her voice was icy, calculating. But it was followed by something even colder. Ryan's response. "I'm already nothing, Lena. I've lost her. And when this comes out, I'll lose everything else. The file ended. I sat back, stunned. This wasn't closure. This was something else entirely. I had a decision to make. Expose them both? Or delete everything and walk away for good? The old me would have hesitated, would have considered revenge. But I had grown. I pulled the flash drive out, walked into the backyard, and lit a small fire in the old stone pit. I dropped the drive into the flames. It cracked, hissed, and melted. Because the truth is, some things don't need to be revisited. They need to be buried. Later that night, I wrote in my journal, "Forgiveness isn't about setting them free. It's about setting me free."
And I meant it.
Weeks turned into seasons. The house no longer echoed with old memories. One morning, I passed by a mirror and barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I finally looked whole. My eyes held peace. My smile had no performance in it. I had outgrown the betrayal, outloved the damage, outlived the shadows. Then came the final twist. A knock on the door, soft, hesitant. I opened it to see Ryan. Older, tired, but sober in a way I hadn't seen before. He held out a letter. "I know you won't read it now," he said. "Maybe never. But I needed to give it to you in person. No expectations. Just closure." I took the envelope but said nothing. He nodded, turned, and walked away.
I didn't open the letter that day.
Or the next. It stayed sealed in my nightstand drawer, not because I was avoiding it, but because I didn't need it. I already knew what it would say. It would speak of guilt, regret, how I was the best thing he never appreciated until it was too late. But by then, I was already writing a new chapter. A few months later, I met someone.
Kind.
Steady.
Honest.
He didn't try to fix me. He honored the strength I had built on my own. And for the first time in a long time, love felt like safety. I'll never forget what happened. But I'll never let it define me either. Because the woman I am now, she doesn't beg for loyalty. She doesn't chase truth, she demands it. And she knows this. Sometimes the people who betray you the hardest are the very reason you finally come home to yourself. And that's the most powerful love story of all.